Hello, everybody. Welcome back to I See What You're Saying, the Disciplined Listening Podcast. I'm Michael Reddington, and today it is my pleasure to welcome our next guest, Cedric Bertelli. Cedric is the founder and director of the Emotional Health Institute, where he draws on his extensive knowledge of both neuroscience and the psychology of emotions to help people overcome emotional difficulties by tapping into their innate psychological capacity. He has spent over 15 years developing and delivering his emotional resolution method, and I'm really excited for him to share that methodology with us today. It's a great conversation that he gets into a lot of depth with us on, and certainly left me thinking by the end of the conversation. So he's going to kick this off by talking about how our brains construct emotion, which, if we're not up on the latest research, is very important to understand. He's also going to talk about the role of interoception, which are these physical sensations we get throughout the emotional process. He's going to share the 3 levels of emotions and why it's very important to differentiate them. He's going to talk about how we can rewire our emotional beliefs, and so much more. It's a great conversation. I appreciate all that he shared, and I'm very happy that you're here to learn from him today as well. Thank you so much for being here. And while you're here for another week, please take a moment, if you haven't already, to like the show, subscribe to the show. Please leave us your feedback, reviews, share it with your network. We do truly appreciate it. And while you're online, please check out our sponsors. You can head over to humantel.com. Enter the code INQUASIVE25 and get 25% off the best-in-class online training of your choice to begin the process of recognizing when people's emotions are shifting by accurately interpreting changes in their facial expressions and nonverbal communications. It's all at humantel.com. I recommend it. I've done it myself. For the professional interviewer, speaking of done it myself, head over to certifiedyinterviewer.com. That's where you can learn all you need to know about both the International Association of Interviewers and what it takes to qualify for, earn, and then the impact of the Certified Forensic Interviewer designation. All your questions will get answered at certifiedyinterviewer.com. And while you're online, please check out inquasive.com. That's where you can learn more about the programs our clients ask us to custom facilitate for their senior leaders, sales teams, HR teams, and more, to teach them how to apply strategic approaches that allow them to uncover hidden value that unlocks breakthroughs in all of their high-impact conversations. We really appreciate you being here for another week. Thank you so very much. Now, without further ado, I introduce to you Cedric Bertelli. Cedric, it's great to meet you. I really appreciate you being here today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Really looking forward to the conversation, learning more about your methodology, and really helping us all. It's probably not the best way to say it, but wrap our brain around emotions and behaviors and how we can learn to have more control or more decision-making power when we feel ourselves going down that road. But before I talk more about things I clearly don't understand, let me start by asking you, how does our brain construct emotion?
It's a great question, because I think there's a lot of mystification around emotions, right? Often we're ashamed of them, or we want to hide them, or we learn to control them. So there's this whole mystic of the emotion, or Freudian view of the emotion. And if we look at the work of Antonio Damasio or Lisa Feldman Barrett out of Boston, yes, I think it's helpful because we can understand what's actually happening for us. And we understand today, it might change in the future, but we understand today how the brain constructs emotion. We have to keep a few things in mind. Number one, the brain is an amazing machine to predict. The brain constantly predicts. This is what keeps us ahead of the game. And we can see that with eating food, for example. If you had one type of apple one day for the first time, and you haven't experienced the crunchiness, the acidity, the juiciness, anytime after this one first experience, before biting the specific type of apple, you're going to predict what experience you're about to have. You're predicting what the apple is going to taste, has going to feel in your mouth right before you bite it. That's a prediction. Let's say you go for a run or a workout, and you arrive home and you're parched, you're very thirsty. Well, you take a bottle of water or whatever, and you drink your beverage, and you feel when you're not thirsty anymore. However, it takes 30 minutes for your body to integrate the water. Your brain predicts how much water you need to drink and tell you exactly when to stop. We predict constantly. So we have to keep that in mind. the brain predicts constantly. We also have to keep in mind, it's important for my work, for emotional resolution, that the prediction can be updated in a matter of seconds. For example, if there is a shop, an ice cream shop opening down the street, and I decide to go get an ice cream, it's a brand new store, so there's batches of ice cream, brown, pink, white, etc. But there's no label yet because I didn't have time maybe to put the label. And I decide to have the pink batch, and I'm expecting it's going to be strawberry, raspberry, something like this. So the person give me a bowl of ice cream. I go out and I take a little bite of it. And as I put the ice cream in my mouth, instead of tasting raspberry, it tastes like smoked salmon. Well, how many spoons do you think I need to know that in this specific store, the pink batch is smoked salmon and not a fruity flavor? I need one. Within 1 or 2 seconds, I updated my prediction, and in this specific store, not everywhere in the world, in this specific store, the pink batch is smoked salmon. And because this experience happened to me in a neutral environment where I was calm, I can integrate this experience in my entire life. That means that if I go in a store now and I see a product that is not labeled before buying it, based on what happened to me on that day, I'm going to ask, hey, what is the flavor? What is that? I was able to update the prediction from this store and apply it to my entire life. This is how we update prediction during our whole life, from the moment we're born until we die, when things happen in a natural environment. Okay, that's the first thing. So the brain predict where we can update prediction extremely quickly in a matter of seconds. The second thing we got to remember when it comes to emotional functioning is at the origin of any debilitating emotional pattern is always the same type of event. At the origin of any of our debilitating emotional pattern is always an instant of trauma. So what is trauma? A trauma, when us as adults, we think about trauma, we think about war, we think about car crash, we think about rape, we think about something else, something big like this. But a trauma is really an instant that holds too much stress, physical or emotional, for us to take on at the time that we experience it. So for a little baby, a trauma is going to be different than a trauma for a 45-year-old man, for example. But that's all it is. A trauma is an instant that holds too much stress, physical or emotional, for us to take on when we experience it. Now, what is interesting about that is it is not the trauma that's going to create a pattern. It is actually the instant of dissociation happening during a trauma. If we are in a very stressful event, physical or emotional, we're going to dissociate. It is a natural mechanism that the brain is doing, so we don't suffer too much during this stressful event. Now, a couple of numbers. What you and I currently, we are capturing consciously is about 2,000 bits of information per second, processed at a speed of 150 miles per hour. That's conscious. At the same time, our subconscious has a potential to process 400 billion bits of information per second, so 2,000 versus 400 billion, and to process that at a speed of 150,000 miles per hour. Now, what is happening is our prefrontal cortex evolved in a way that it can filter information so that we can have this conversation, so we can live in the society that we created. However, when we dissociate, the prefrontal cortex shut down. The conscious mind, we could say, shut down. And now the subconscious takes over. So imagine when you dissociate, this immense vortex gathering all the information around you at a speed of 150,000 miles per hour, a definition of 400 billion bits of information per second, and gathering everything in a non-logical, non-linear way. What you see, what you smell, the taste, the shape, the light, everything, gathering everything in a way that doesn't make any sense, just a chaos of information. And your brain is also going to gather the physical sensation that you feel at that time, the tensions, the feeling in the stomach, whatever is happening. It's like a snapshot of what's happening in and out during this instant of dissociation. Now, let's be honest. If I'm being, let's say, sexually attacked, I'm not going to dissociate only one time. If the assault lasts 5 minutes, I guarantee you that I'm going to go in and out, in and out, in and out. And every time I go out in dissociation, that's eventually an opportunity for a debilitating emotional pattern to be created later. That's why with emotional resolution, my work, we never go back to an instant of trauma. It is irrelevant because during the instant of trauma, very often you dissociated several times. But anyway, are you with me so far, or am I speaking too fast?
No, I'm tracking. I'm with you. I'm a little bit hung up that somebody thought smoked salmon was a good ice cream flavor. That person should be fired. But otherwise, I'm tracking with you. Yes, thank you.
Well, I live in the Bay Area. It's San Francisco. Where there's a lot of there's a lot of weird taste around here. So that's what's happening. Yeah. Now later on, so we live this instant of trauma several times in our life, 10th and 10th of time, from the moment we're conceived, birth, first years of life, etc., etc. We have a lot of opportunities for quote unquote traumatic events, for dissociation, really. Well, later on, what's happening is when your brain, your body, find itself in a situation when it recognizes one or several elements that were present during one of your dissociating experience, your brain is going to predict instantly what physical sensations you're about to feel based on what you felt during the specific dissociation experience. Those physical sensations, you feel them in your body. Those physical sensations, we call that interoception. We know that we feel an emotion because we feel sensations in our body. Our emotion is not a thought. It's not in our head. You know that you feel anxious. You know that you feel frustrated. You know that you feel angry because you feel physical sensations in your body. Those physical sensations are a prediction of your brain. Your brain is predicting that you're about to feel those physical sensations based on the stimulus present in your life today. Now, the stimulus present in your life today, it can be a smell, it can be a specific light, it can be it can be a form, it can be something. It's not the same as what happened years and years ago to you. It's just an element that was present at that time. So this prediction, what is happening when we feel it? When we feel the prediction, most of the time we control it. We try to shut it down, we deny it. And every time we control this prediction, we never let the brain experience that you can go to this prediction, and at the end of this prediction, nothing happens. You're safe and sound. So we keep on short-circuiting those predictions, which means that the predictions are going to repeat. And we stay stuck with the same emotions over and over again.
So to summarize, and I have read Lisa Feldman's book. It's a big lift, but I have read it. It's a great kind of frame of references. So I'm super happy to hear you quote that right at the beginning. So using that as a reference is I listened to you as well to really, really over summarize it. The physical sensations we feel that tell us we are, quote, feeling an emotion are actually this interoception. It's the result of our brain predicting what's going to happen next. So when we feel those physical sensations and then work real hard to control our emotions, we're actually ensuring that this loop will continue because we're not allowing ourselves to work through the problem to solve it.
That's it. It's exactly that. It's exactly that. And the thing is, we control our emotion from very early on. I mean, we teach our children to control their emotion. Yeah. We tell them to regulate their emotion, breathe, count until 10. If you go to church is teaching you to control your emotion one way or another. We develop from the get-go an amazing tool belt to regulate our emotion or deny them. Back in the day, it was like boys don't cry. All this stuff. Yeah. So this, what we call emotional regulation, of course, is very useful. But it stopped this natural process for emotional resolution. At the Emotional Health Institute, we work, which is the nonprofit that we created in the US, in France, and in Japan. We work with ethologists, which are basically a behavioral specialists for animals, and veterinarians. And those specialists found out that there's only 3 types of mammals that hold on to trauma: humans, pets, and farm animals. And what is the commonality between those 3 mammals? It is that us humans control their youngs. We control our youngs, of course, as babies and children. We control our pets. And in some cases, we control our farm animals. So the brain doesn't have an opportunity to go through this natural process to experience the interoceptive prediction and updating in a matter of seconds that whatever stimulus used to be maybe present during a danger, nowadays is a non-event.
It's very interesting to think about the impact we have on like our pets and other animals that create the same behavioral patterns. So understanding or beginning, I shouldn't say I understand anything, but as I begin to understand from thinking through what you're saying, if how we have been taught to control or limit our emotions, work through our emotions, isn't whole or part keeping some of these ineffective behavioral emotional loops running, how do we start to rewire our emotional beliefs so we can operate at a, this is not the right way to say it, correct me, a healthier plane?
Yeah, well, I think it's in a way, I think it's not that difficult. In a way, we need to rethink the way that we help our children with their emotion. That's most of the time we control our children's emotion because when we see them suffer, upset, screaming, it impacts us as parents. So we are tense inside, so we're going to go on. Of course, it's to help them as well, but most of the time we go on and help our children or teach them things because it makes us feel bad to see them in pain. We've got to learn to be present, attentive to the child in a way at the beginning, and let them with their emotion, being there, present, attentive, but not interfering with their emotion. Easier said than done. Yeah? But that's the key. Or instead of teaching them to take some deep breath, teaching them to feel the sensations in their body. Because this is what EmRes is doing now, what we're doing with our clients, for example, when we teach in our training. What we teach in our training is to retrigger specifically an emotion so that the person can stay with the interoceptive prediction until the end without interfering with them, or without the practitioner interfering with the client's prediction. An emotion lasts between 2 and 90 seconds, never more. The problem is sometimes we find ourselves in a funk for like hours in a row, or sometimes days in a row for two reasons. Number one, we keep on thinking about the problem again and again and again. So the emotion is looping and looping and looping and looping. Or sometimes we're having an emotion, and then from this emotion, we build other emotions. I say something to you because you upset me. You hurt my feeling. I say something to you. And then I feel bad about it. I feel shame about it. And then I feel guilt about it. And then I have a story where I blame my father for my own behavior. And then I'm going to go on and on and on and on. And what I will qualify or conceptualize as one emotion, cognitively, in my brain is 10 emotions going on and on and on, one after another. So I feel in a funk for like hours or day in a row, not for one emotion, but because I'm building emotion on my brain, build emotion upon emotions.
So, that absolutely resonates with me. I feel like I've experienced that and I've seen that. So now thinking as a parent, as a coach, as a leader, whatever term we want to put on it, how can we help people, maybe this is a better word, navigate emotions without interfering?
Okay, that's a great question. Number one, as a parent, a coach, a leader, or whatever it is that we are, or just a citizen, right? Just a human living in a human world, is to resolve our own emotional difficulties, our own fears. You know, we taught here in the Bay Area over 200 teachers how to do this work with the kids. And what we notice is they're only applying EmRes on the children when they are bothered by the child behavior. So often we see the kids, they're a little shy, they're a little anxious, they're a little thing, but it doesn't impact us. So we don't do anything. No, first thing is, sorry, I went a bit off way here. The key is to start with is to resolve our own emotional difficulties so that we do not act upon children or others to feel better, for us to basically take care of ourselves by controlling others. If we try to help someone because we feel bad, then we're not really helping. We're trying to control their emotions. So to answer your question clearly, the first thing we've got to do is to resolve our own emotional difficulties. That means if we are faced by a situation and we feel in a funk, anxiety, frustration, depression, whatever it is, judgment, before acting and putting our poison or our control out there, we stop, we close our eyes, and we're going to feel the sensations in our body. We're going to feel this interoceptive prediction. And that's key here. Two things here. When you start feeling in a funk, you don't want to keep on pushing through. No, you notice that you're in a funk, stop acting, because at this point, you're not acting anymore, you're reacting. You stop, you realize, you recognize, you accept that you're in a funk, you stop, you close your eyes, you're going to feel the sensations in your body that makes you notice that you're in a funk. Now, it's important. I'm going to tell you how to do it on yourself so people can know, right? You close your eyes. It's important for you to be able to close your eyes and not worry about anything. If you're in the living room and your child says something that really hurts you and you want to maybe say something or explode, you know better, so you close your eyes. If you close your eyes and you worry about what your wife can think or what your child can think, it's not going to work. You need to close your eyes and feel comfortable to have your eyes closed. It's most important. In EmRes, you don't close your eyes to shut out what's happening inside. Closing the eyes when you feel an emotion show you if your body feels safe or not. Again, working with ponies and horses and cows, we notice that in mammals, the first sign of fear is that we stop blinking. That's the first sign of fear in anything. You can look at your dog, at horses. When there is a sign of fear around, they stop blinking. Same thing for humans. That means like if you're in a place that you cannot close your eyes peacefully, that means that your body doesn't feel safe. When you feel an emotion, you need to close your eyes and be able to close your eyes and be comfortable with that. The next thing is you're going to move all your attention to the flesh, all your attention to your physical sensations. Now, it's important to feel not only one sensation, you got to feel 2 or 3 sensations at once. It's important because if you only feel one sensation, then your mind has room to think. And if you think, you stop feeling. Feeling is an active action. People think that feeling is passive. No, if you're passive, your brain is going to feed you some thoughts. You don't think. Your brain is going to fill up the void. No, you've got to feel the same way that if I stop putting intensity in my arm, my cup will collapse. You got to feel inside, feel the flesh, feel the sensations. And at this point, that's the most difficult of EmRes. It is to keep on feeling as the sensations change in your body without interfering with them, without breath, without stretching, without positive reinforcement. No, you've got to feel. I often tell my clients, you have to enter the belly of the beast. The beast is right here. The most difficult is to get through the teeth, right? It's like I feel an emotion, and instead of biting back or instead of shutting down, I'm gonna go inside. I'm gonna take care of what's happening in my flesh. Get in, and once you feel the sensations change. They're gonna evolve inside of you in between 2 seconds and 90 seconds, never more. But you need to be inside without interfering with them. Voila. So to answer your question, there was a long answer, but it's the first thing we can do to help others is to first resolve as much as we can what's happening inside of us, so that the emotion that we feel as an individual are congruent with what's happening in our actual reality, not stuff that come from the past, right? And then once we do that, and once we are not triggered by what's happening around, by the way that my wife feels, the way that my employee feels, the way that my kids feel, once we feel, of course, we can have compassion for our employees, our wives, etc., but we're not triggered by how they feel. So we can be anchored, present, and attentive. Then we can help to do EmRes on them. And we teach that, of course, how to do EmRes with other individuals. But if we don't do it on ourselves first, it's not going to work, because then again, we move from caring to someone to controlling or trying to control someone.
It's a great way to say it right there at the end. We move from caring for someone to controlling somebody, and often we confuse the two. Really quick, thank you for slipping that voila in there. I appreciated that. So get the French slipping in. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't even notice it.
But I do think, and I think about this from a parenting perspective, but I also see it from a coaching and leadership perspective as well, where many times we tell ourselves that we're acting in the benefit of the other person. But in reality, we're acting in our own benefit, because the emotion we're feeling, watching or experiencing somebody else, is so uncomfortable, we want it to end. So we're acting to end our own emotion and justifying it by saying that we're actually caring for the other person, which is how you so eloquently and succinctly put it. We're not caring for them, we're controlling them while we're caring for ourselves. And if we don't address our issues first, we won't be able to recognize it. That was powerful.
Mm-hmm. And even for a coach, sometimes the coach is getting way more excited than the client, and that is not right either. I think as a coach or as a practitioner, for a practitioner, we shouldn't want anything for our clients. It's in my practice, it has been like a big work for me. It's like, I don't want anything. I don't even want you to be better, right? What I'm going to do in order for me to be ethical is to do what I do best. That's what I want. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be attentive. And I'm going to try to do as much as I can what I do best. Now, what comes out of it, it's not really important to me. What matters is that moment between us. right? I call that the cocoon. Most of the time, and coaching is different. I'm not a coach, right? So I don't know about that. But most of the time, people make the mistake, I think, to look at if the client's like a caterpillar, is what butterfly can come out of it. That's not my problem. My problem, so to speak, is to create the cocoon so that the transformation can happen. So that the transformation can happen within the body. Then what come out of the cocoon, I have nothing to do with it. But what matters is to provide this place where I'm not triggered, and when I'm only going to bring the client to be in the sensations, and that's it.
It's a great way to look at it too, because now we're focusing on the process, not the results. And if we focus on the process, then in this case, the other people involved in the process can internalize that and take what they will, make their leaps, make their growth, make their development on their schedule as they work through it. You've mentioned EmRes a few times, and I know that is your methodology that you use. I'm certainly not going to ask you to give us all of your methodology. I wouldn't do that. But from a basic standpoint, it would be great if you could please walk us through what EmRes is, how it works, to help us just understand how we can perhaps even create this cocoon for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for asking, first of all. EmRes is methodology, so it's different methods because nothing works just for everybody, right? So we tried to create a range of methods that always do the same thing. And what does it do? Is allowing the person to feel an emotion and to be with the sensations until the end of the interoceptive prediction. So in a session, for example, the client will come with a specific emotion they want to resolve, or a specific pattern, or a specific behavior they want to resolve. And that's going to give us an entrance point. We're going to trick the brain, so to speak, to recreate the emotion they want to resolve right here and right there during the session. Never talking about a traumatic event. Always taking the person the way they are today, right? If somebody comes and tell me, well, I want to work on my car accident that happened 25 years ago. So it's nothing I can do. This idea that we can heal trauma, it looks good on book, but you cannot heal trauma. Trauma happened. You can always heal. You can only heal the wounds that trauma created in our life currently. So it's most important for us to take the person, the individual in front of us, the way that they feel today. So, okay, this car accident that happened 25 years ago, how does that impact your life today? Well, today I cannot drive. Today, when my wife drives, I'm very, very nervous. Okay. And then what else? Well, now that I can drive, I don't feel like a man anymore. For example, I don't feel I can take care of my family. Okay. So we're going to list one by one what are the impact of this person, of this trauma in this person, if they come for trauma. And then we're going to attend one by one. We're going to use current situation in their life that represent the emotions that they want to resolve. We're going to trick the brain to recreate that emotion. For example, the fear when the wife is driving, we're going to recreate that. They're going to feel the sensation. They're not going to be in the emotion. There's no crying. There's no kicking. There's no screaming. We're going to bring them into the body. And they're going to be intimate, often for the first time, with what's happening in their body. Because most of the time, what you do, you brace, you try to hide it. No, you're going to be intimate with what's happening in your body, and you're going to let it change. You're going to feel it change until it dissipate. And then we're going to go into other emotions. So for us, emotions are on 3 levels. Conscious emotions, this is where people come to see us. The anger, the frustration, the anxiety, what is quote unquote in our face. Then there is the unconscious emotion. The unconscious emotions are the emotion that we can find if we look for them, but we don't like to look at them because they do not match with the person we want to be in life, right? So the shame, the guilt, the resentment, the self-worth, all this stuff that we often hide from ourselves and that fuel our behaviors, our toxic behaviors. So we're going to tap into the conscious, the unconscious, and then there are the subconscious emotions. The subconscious emotions are emotions that don't have an interoceptive prediction that is strong enough to be conceptualized by the brain. Basically, we will call it tension, right? And all day long, we are crossed by tension. For example, let's say, Michael, we meet for the first time. We don't know each other. We don't know anything about each other. But when I meet you, I have a feeling about you. What is it? Is that I feel tense. And it has nothing to do with you. Maybe it's your smell that I don't even smell, right? But my brain recognized as a kid who used to beat me up in the bus. I don't know that. There's nothing cognitive about it. All I know is I come close to you, and when I come close to you, I feel tension. And most of the time, I'm going to make up a story about that. Say, well, Michael, you know what? I don't feel him. Like there's something about him, that's nothing to do with you. It's just my body tensed because there is something about your biology that remind my brain of a moment of danger. And most of the time, what do? We make up story about the person. We're going to believe this story. And that's going to, how can I say that? Toxify our own relationship. Maybe we could have been good friends. Maybe we could have made do business together, etc. But because I have this tension in me, I'm going to go on and make a story. That's what we do as humans. We make stories about everything. Well, the thing is, if I met Michael and I feel tension, well, before doing anything, I'm going to back off and I feel those tension. And I'm going to see their resolve. If they're resolved, chances are it was just an interoceptive prediction. And then I go back in relationship with you. It's neutral. Fantastic. Then we can have a conversation. So these subconscious fear, the tension, are the one that most of the time we don't take care of because they're easy to manage in a way. They're easy to ignore. Van Gogh said, the painter, he said, our small emotions are the captains of our life because we obey them without realizing it. And I really believe that, So anyway, to finish answering your question, in a session, a person is going to come up with a main emotion, a conscious emotion that we're going to consider as a symptom. But exactly like if you have a flu, if you have a fever, if you treat the fever, you're not going to treat the flu. But people come to see us for a symptom, a pain, an ache, etc. For us, it's an emotion. So we're going to start from this conscious emotion, and then through questioning, through all the methodology, we're going to tap into the unconscious and the subconscious emotion. So that when the person come out of this 1 hour together, they feel change around the issue they come to see us for.
I really appreciate that perspective. I do think I caught you calling me a bully and telling me that I smell bad in there. So I'll have to process through that trauma later on. But I do like how you broke out. I appreciate all of it, but I like how you broke out the 3 different types of emotions. And honestly, I personally appreciated how you separated the unconscious and the subconscious, because I think, speaking for myself, it's really easy to confuse the two. Like, it's either conscious, I realize it, or it's unconscious, I don't realize it. And so allowing for that third level, which is kind of in the middle, maybe I sort of realize it, but don't really feel it, can't put a label on it. Understanding the difference between the 3, I think, was really important. I appreciate that.
Great. Yeah. Most of the time we don't realize that it's and again, like those tensions, they create the dynamics of our life. We're about to do something fun with the kids. I don't know, go to a roller coaster, and there's a feeling like, no, I don't like roller coasters. It's not that you don't like roller coasters. Chances are it's because you're tense and you don't want to be exposed to that. There's a lot of like, I don't like this guy. I don't like this activity. I don't like to do that. That has nothing to do with the liking. We don't like it because it creates tension. And resolve the tension, and then you can decide if you like it or not. I don't like everything. I'm far away from being completely resolving my emotion. Ask my wife; she will tell you still has a lot of work to do. This guy, but it's a lot of like the what we put as adult and kids as well as I don't like is just because we feel uncomfortable.
You at least don't like salmon ice cream, and I feel like that means we can be friends. If somebody did like salmon ice cream, that might be an alert signal right there. I don't know that I can trust.
You know about this guy? He has a strange taste, yeah.
And I do, because maybe the way my brain works, I find humor in strange places. I do find it interesting that we're quoting in a quote on emotion from a guy who cut his own ear off. So there might be something to dive into there later on. It doesn't take away from the validity of the quote. I just got a chuckle out of that. But to take it back to a more serious topic, one of the things that I've seen you write about is this illusion that we can all have of not being good enough. So if we're going to apply this EmRes framework and understand what's happening there, how do you help people work through this illusion that I'm not good enough? Because any of us can fall prey to it at any time.
Yeah, correct. First of all, I like to say that this whole thing of being not good enough is completely human. We're the only species in the entire, I don't know, universe, but world that think that we're not good enough. Not good enough for what? What is this, right? It just doesn't make any sense. It's a belief that has been created by whatever, right? But from the moment life runs for us, we're obviously good enough. Is a squirrel good enough? Is my dog good enough? Is a tree good enough? Yes, it just is. It just is. This thing of like not being good enough is just it messed up with so many people's head, and it doesn't make any sense. So the way that we approach it is we're going to approach it first from an emotional perspective. Like, when do you don't feel good enough? When will some people tell me that? When I fail doing that. So we're going to resolve this tension, like get your mind going to, I'm not good enough. Then we're going to go into the belief. So we're going to take the time to say, okay, I'm not good enough. That's something that we say. Okay, so now be specific. You're not good enough for what? For what exactly? What are you really afraid of? Where did you get this idea that you're not good enough? And why this person said that to you? Why does that matter for you? Why do you keep on attaching your mind to you're not good enough? What does that protect you from? Because after a while, this I'm not good enough is also, I don't want to use the word excuse, but a buffer, a protection to things. So, well, I'm not good enough, so I'm not going to try. So we're going to tap it into all these angles and more, of course. The emotion, the situation, get your mind to kick into I'm not good enough. Not good enough for what? Be specific. And often we stay like, surface level. No, not good enough for what? What are you afraid of? And what does that protect you from? Etc. What I said already. Yeah. So we have some things called impact question, for example, as one of EmRes methodologies. And those impact question is basically asking the question and other people don't ask. We train our practitioner to not be kind, but to be ethical, right? Often people are too kind, and by being kind, we're not maybe sometimes ethical enough, and we do not allow people to look at their fears. The idea of EmRes is that we get as many fears as we can to come up during a session where it's safe, so the person can get in and resolve them. So they stop following them like ghosts.
Man, so many great points, but especially right there at the end, I've never stopped to think about the difference between being kind and being ethical. I think a lot of times we just assume that being kind is ethical. But if you think about our ethical responsibility in this case to help other people or to put them in a position to help themselves, whatever the right way to say it is, then sometimes we don't need to be mean. We don't need to be rude, but we don't need to err on the side of kindness either. That ethical ground gives us some other options. And fear following us around like ghosts. That's so true. We might not always see it. We might not always feel it, but the fact that it's there following us around. Great points. I don't have a natural segue for this next question, so I'm just going to make a hard shift. And I know that you got appointments coming up, and I appreciate you sharing your time. But from your perspective, how do you see the impact of this increased reliance on AI affecting our ability to understand and work through our emotions?
It's a great question, and I see it in the last year. I see it a lot in my clients, right? Well, it's I don't know if it's complex, but I work with a lot of people who are alone. They feel isolated, and AI, in a way, changed their life because AI offers them a companionship. And so, in a way, for some of them, it has been positive. Now, AI most of the time move toward you, meaning it tries to support you constantly. And by supporting the people, it also, in a way, isolate them even more into their own stuff, right? Say that you're right, you're so strong and all that. So it's a lot of positive reinforcement often. And what I found is people, in a way, are isolating even more within themselves and in the relationship with AI. I think AI, and there's many different types of AI, I think AI can be very useful. And it's also important to do the somatic work. I mean, it's like to realize that you feel a certain emotion. It's okay to have an AI companion to talk to, absolutely. But that is not going to resolve the pain that you feel inside. So you can use it as a companion, but when it comes to resolve the pain that you have inside, to come out of yourself, it's interesting, to exist. The verb to exist come from Latin existere, which means to come out of oneself. As human beings, we keep on looking inside us, me knowing myself and how important I am. But that's not how it works, right? You just go inside, you become closer and smaller. No, to exist is to come out. And for that, I think you but you need to be outside, you need to break up your routine, you need to do, I think, some work such as EmRes or something similar, talking to people that allow you to come out. Yes, of course, know thyself, sure, but come out of this small perception paradigm of life that only goes through you in a way. I don't know if I answer your question.
I believe that you did, and it's whether it's AI or social media or whatever, we find ourselves often getting led by an algorithm or an echo chamber, and the more a thought process is reinforced, the more it becomes our new reality or launch pad for the next thought and the next idea and the next. So if it's, I guess it's ironic, it's tragic, we can pick the number of words to use, that the thing we're seeking companionship with or from could be further isolating us and only reinforcing the problems that we need to work through. So I think that's a very critical point of consideration for all of us.
You voiced it much better than me. That was exactly the essence of my thought. So perfect. Thank you for doing that.
No, thank you. I got lucky.
I don't think so.
I know you've got appointments coming up, and I really appreciate the opportunity to learn from you today. I've been taking notes the entire time that you've been talking. So for people who would love to continue learning from you, they want to learn more about EmRes, and they want to maybe take this journey themselves, or they know somebody else who might be interested, how should they stay connected and continue to learn from you?
Yep. The best way is to go to emotionalhealthinstitute.org. Or they can also go on EmRes, EmRes.com. And then they will find trainings. So for self, if they want to learn to do this work on themselves by themselves, but also trainings for HR professionals, coaches, therapists to do EmRes, to be a certified practitioner. And on the website, they will also find the research, the science behind the work, and a directory of certified practitioners that we endorse.
Fantastic. I'll share all of those links in the show notes, I promise. It has been my pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time. It's been great meeting you, great learning from you. And you left me with some things to think about this afternoon. Right. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for giving us a voice, and thank you for your time and the conversation.
Oh, my pleasure. Take care.
Take good care. Bye-bye.
Cedric, thank you for a great conversation. I appreciate all the detail that you shared, the way you walked us through it, certainly the new understanding you're helping me get to, and you absolutely gave me a lot to pause and think about how I can improve and adapt how I've been handling situations in both my personal and professional lives. Thank you. I hope everybody else got just as much out of that conversation as I did. Of all the things that you mentioned, a couple that really stuck with me there at the end, thinking stops feeling. The more I'm thinking, the less I can focus on what I'm feeling. I really appreciate the conversation about moving beyond the I'm not good enough trap. I know I certainly continue to fall into that. Plenty of other people likely do as well. And understanding the difference between being kind and being ethical. I'd never thought of that before. And I'm sure it's probably new for a lot of us. I really appreciate all that you shared. Thank you so very much. And of course, thank you to you all for being here for another episode. We really appreciate you continuing to tune in. Before you head out today, please take just a quick moment to subscribe to the show, like the show, share it, leave us your feedback, leave a review. We really would love to hear from you. We appreciate all your support. Thank you so much. Check out our sponsors. Head over to humantel.com. Enter the code Inquasive25. Get 25% off their best-in-class online training to recognize when people's emotions are shifting by accurately interpreting changes in their facial expressions and nonverbal communication. Professional interviewers, head over to certifiedinterviewer.com. Get all your questions answered about joining the International Association of Interviewers and earning your certified forensic interviewer designation. It's all there. And please check out Inquasive.com. That's where you can learn more about the programs our clients ask us to custom facilitate for their senior leaders, HR teams, sales teams, and more to help develop the strategic conversational approaches that unlock the breakthroughs to help them identify hidden value in all of their high-impact conversations. We appreciate you being here for another week. Thank you so very much. Stay safe, take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.